Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
And it is on. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everyone? I hope you all had a nice weekend, and I hope you all had a fun Halloween this year. Unfortunately, I don't think I could say the same because on the day of Halloween, I was honestly very tired, but I did make things up for it where on the next day, I guess you could say that technically was my Halloween or my way of celebrating Halloween because I live streamed myself playing Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed and I just so happened to be at Lonesome Manor. So I did get my dose of spookiness this year. And I am fully aware, by the way, that on the week that I am recording this, it is going to be very stressful, especially with what's happening in the United States where the election is on and the pressure could not be any more higher. But just want to go and quickly mention that if you are in the United States, if you are an American or you are a US registered individual, then I highly recommend that you go out and vote if you have not voted early as of yet. It is your civic duty to go and pick the leader that you think would do the best job to go and benefit not just your life, but also for everyone around you and for everyone in the country. And I would even say, considering the massive influence of the United States has upon this earth, basically for just about everyone. And I think it should come with no surprise that I do fully endorse Kamala Harris for president. So if you are going to go and vote, then please vote for Kamala Harris, especially with the fact that she presents a lot more competence compared to her opponent and actually does have a plan, or at least has an idea of a plan. Or no, you know what? No, she does have actually a plan in terms of human rights, in terms of the environment, in terms of the economics, in terms of everything. She would know what to do compared to Donald Trump, where he doesn't really have a plan except for enabling what is essentially Nazism. Just let people be as bigoted as they want without suffering any consequences that they should. So yes, all this to go and say that if you haven't voted yet in the United States and you are a registered American, then please go and vote for Kamala Harris. And there is one more thing that I do want to mention, and I will be repeating this at the end of this, but there will be no episode next week. And the reason why is because I am going to be away on vacation, so I won't even be here. In fact, I won't even be in the country. So you'll have to wait until the week after that when we do return to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, where I will go and catch up on what's been going on in the animation news and entertainment news or whatever crazy thing that is worth talking about in this podcast. So, without further ado, now it is time that I would like to go onto the chat wall. And I'd like to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Let's see now. No, it is not a Disney World trip. It's just like a beach resort vacation. It's just to go and relax with the family. That's basically the whole gist of it. But yes, I do see people are prepared. People are ready. That is beautiful to see. And so with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that I have for you today, we are going to go and discuss once again about Paul King. Now, you may recall in the last episode, I did talk about Paul King, specifically regarding the fact that one of the upcoming movies that he's going to be working on will be with Disney to make a Prince Charming movie. Plus the fact that for that project, they did reveal that Chris Hemsworth will be that Prince Charming. And honestly, just the idea of having Paul King be working on a Disney movie, I feel like it's something that is long overdue, and I feel like it is absolutely perfect. But we're not going to be talking about that Prince Charming movie. Instead, we're going to be talking about one of the films in which, or at least two of the films now, that really made his name very popular and very beloved as a filmmaker. And that is, of course, Paddington. Because the thing with Paddington is that he's going to be coming back pretty soon. And, look at this. I notice a new fish here. Thank you very much, Meta Ralph. But yes, Paddington will soon be coming back, and he's going to be returning in his biggest adventure yet. So, without further ado, let us go ahead and start things off with our first story, as we are going to be checking out the trailer for the upcoming third installment, Paddington in Peru.
Thank you for using PhotoMe.
Oh, not at all. Thank you for having me.
Ah, for God's sake, seriously?
Someone sits down next to you in a flight, your worst
Are you-
nightmare is that they're
why?
wearing...
Axe body spray.
Make sure your face
There we go.
is within the red circle.
And it's for when people have forgotten their manners.
And that is Paddington in Peru, to which it will be coming soon to theaters on January 17th. Now, I think it is safe to say that I don't have to mention much about the Paddington movies because they have been some of the most beloved features in recent years, especially with the way that it's like debatably some of the most charming and whimsical features out there. The kind of film that like really sets a brand new standard in terms of film adaptations based on children's literature. And especially with this Paddington, like at first you would see that and think like, oh, this seems a little bit weird, and it wouldn't be that different from any of those movies that are based on kids' books or the way that, like, especially how Paddington is designed so realistically as a bear, it wouldn't seem far off than those other family films that would be like live action and CG hybrid, you know? Like like at first you would think, okay, this Paddington doesn't seem like that different from the 2010 Yogi Bear movie. Oh, but au contraire, the way that they executed the Paddington movies is just so heartfelt, so charming. Like you cannot hate it. You know, it's one of those films you just cannot hate and really get sucked into the charm. So obviously, I think it is safe to say there definitely is some interest for now the third installment. And I know that I previously talked a lot about Paul King, but it is worth noting that with Paddington in Peru, he's not going to be coming back as the director, especially when, according to the YouTube page of Sony Pictures, it says here that the director this time is going to be Dougal Wilson. However, it is worth noting that Paul King is still going to be one of the writers, or at least writing the story alongside Simon Farnaby and Mark Burton, and he is one of the executive producers. So at least like he is still going to be involved in some capacity, but not necessarily as much into it. But still, though, I will say in this trailer, you do see some of that charming aspects from Paddington that, honestly, I still very much enjoyed. And, like, even in just this trailer, it did give me a good laugh. I think, honestly, my favorite joke is, especially, like, I know they did this in the previous trailer, but honestly, I really do enjoy like Paddington trying to take his passport photo. So just by looking at this again, just him trying to understand that. Oh, dang, we got another new fish this time. But anyways, like just to like check this again.
Oh, not at all. Thank you for having me.
Make sure your face is within the red circle.
Like, that is cute. But then, honestly, like, what really did pay off is when he goes back to, when he returns to Peru, like, this part over here.
Oh, Paddington. Welcome to Peru.
I honestly love that. It's just like the guy, the guy is just there, Paddington trying to recreate that face, and he's just there like, yeah, it checks. Oh, yeah, we can let him in. Like, honestly, it's those kinds of things. Like, it's simple but very effective. That does make the charm of Paddington feel very timeless and just so enjoyable to watch again and again, especially like with the first and the second. And from the looks of things here, it looks like they are going to be repeating that. And not, by the way, not just with the humor, but even with the heart as well, especially when seeing over here this character that Paddington really wants to look for with Lucy, especially when this film is all about trying to search for Lucy to make sure that she is okay, that she's missing, but now we got to go find her, and everybody taking a trip to Peru. And especially like when you see throughout this trailer Paddington quoting Lucy, like you kind of eventually see like as the movie would eventually progress, or as this trailer progresses, we see how this Lucy character is very much influenced or has influenced Paddington so much. So like you could already tell in this trailer how much Lucy means to Paddington and why this whole journey is going to be worth it, or at least worth it for him. Now, there is, however, one little criticism that I just want to go and quickly point out, or I don't know if I could say it is a criticism, but it is something that honestly, it's a bit like a concern about how this movie is going to be. And that is specifically not the Paddington part, but the Peru part. Because once you look like once it goes halfway into it, like once we finally do see Paddington and the gang that are in Peru, suddenly it kind of feels like it's becoming a bit of a different movie. Or I would debatably say that Paddington goes into the most Hollywood than he has ever been. Like suddenly now it incorporates a lot more action and a lot more adventure. And this is not to say that there hasn't been in the previous Paddington films, but this one looks like it doubles or even triples down on it. And especially the fact that, it emphasizes that it's a jungle adventure. It's hard not to think about the other recent jungle adventures that we've recently had, more specifically with the Jumanji movies, or even the Disney's Jungle Cruise movie that they had. And coincidentally, since Sony did recently announce that there is going to be a Jumanji 3 that's going to be coming out, I believe at the end of 2026. I mean, you look at this and a part of me kind of wonders, okay, so do we need a third Jumanji movie? Because I look at it right over here, it kind of looks like the same thing, It's kind of like, we do have the third Jumanji movie. It just so happens that now the characters have been modded to look like freaking Paddington characters. It's like, if it really is a Jumanji movie, we'll probably see at one point, like just Paddington just randomly floating around, just T-posing. It's something like that. But still though, even though there is a lot of those jungle aspects, but the reason why I do say that it is a bit of a concern is just I'm worried that if this kind of like action adventure thing would take away from the feel of Paddington, if it would suddenly try to go and be more like this Hollywood movie, that suddenly they want to go, that suddenly it would take away or at least sacrifice a bit of the charm and the signature traits of what made those last two Paddington movies so timeless. That's honestly my only major concern that I do have it. And I mean, who knows? Maybe I could be wrong. And like even in this, like when we do see like some of the adventures that Paddington goes through and tries to narrowly avoid Antonio Banderas, whom at this point, like we could pretty much see that he's the villain right now. And I'm not gonna lie, looking into like what he does here, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Burger Beard from the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. Like, he's an antagonist in a family-friendly movie. And I don't know, I already see a bit of parallels between like what he's trying to do here and what, you know, and like what he did in the SpongeBob movie. And oh wow, apparently already reviews are out. Okay, wow, that's kind of oh wow, okay, hold on a sec. Oh wow, I should have done a bit more research, because I already see in the chat wall you guys are mentioning that like apparently it already had its premiere and the reviews are out, and apparently they say that the reviews seem to be mixed. Actually, you know what? Let's do this together. Let's actually go and check this out. Since the reviews are already released, I am curious on what they say specifically on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, so I have it right over here, and oh boy, wow, and they're already using the angry Paddington face. And apparently, as I am recording this, by the way, it says here that it is 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, so or 92%, or at least based on okay, so apparently there's like a total of 12 top critics, and with all critics is 22 reviews. About the grand majority of them, 20 of them say that it is like fresh, and only 2 say it's rotten. But in terms of what the actual ratings are, I wish I could go and show you or like give you a better view of it. But it says here, or how can I go and can I give you guys a better view just to show? Or son of a fish. Hold on a sec. I'll try to fix this. There we go. No, fudge. No, dang it, balls. Come on, give me what I want. Okay, fudge. Okay, so maybe I would have to go and rearrange a little bit. Hold on a sec. Don't want to give you like too much of like what I have background. Yeah, as you could tell, yes, my desktop background is the Small World clock tower from Epic Mickey. Let's see. Well, that doesn't help. Okay, fine. Right over here. So it says here that with the son of a fish. Okay, my computer is being fussy. I am so sorry about that, people. But here. Okay, I think I got a solution. There we go, right over here. So as you can see, it says here that in terms of the ratings, the average rating is around 6.6 out of 10 with the top critics. And with all critics, it's 6.8 out of 10. That is the average. Okay, so hopefully that will go and answer that. Okay, but yeah, so apparently from what I've been seeing so far, you know, it's not like top tier in the levels of like the original Paddington and Paddington 2, but you know, it's like, it seems like I wouldn't say it's mixed. I would say it's more like mixed to positive. So chances are, from what we are seeing in this trailer and what the critics have said from what they have seen, it looks like it may not necessarily be the best Paddington movie, but it could be a worthwhile Paddington movie, or still a worthwhile Paddington movie. But I guess at the end of the day, we will truly see how it will go when the movie does get released in theaters on, I believe they said January 17th? Yes, January 17th of next year. And with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the trailer of Paddington in Peru? Are you guys excited to go and check it out? Are you guys a little bit hesitant? Do you have any concerns about it? Or especially, if you're a fan of the Paddington movies, let me know what you think. And also, might as well go and do a little bit of a poll here. So let me go and ask you this question. Are you excited for Paddington in Peru? So I'll go and ask yes, and then I'll ask no. Just make a quick little rearrangement, and then we'll go and start this poll. And right over here. Okay, so let's see what the chat wall has to say here. My mother is a huge Paddington lover, and I'm planning on buying tickets for her and my father to watch this as a family outing. It's also making me hungry for marmalade sandwiches on toast, or toast and marmalade with a cup of Earl Grey tea. As for the trailer itself, while I love the diverse cast, my only critique is how it spoiled Antonio Banderas' character at the end. But one fascinating trivia to look forward to is that it's his and Olivia Colman's first movie since Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Oh, wow. Hey, at least, hey, they definitely do deserve a comeback after that fantastic movie. An obnoxious Axe body spray ad coming out of nowhere to annoy us? What's this, 2008? Yeah, I am sorry about that. I did not expect an Axe commercial to suddenly just pop in randomly there. Anyways, it looks like this movie will be nothing but delightful wholesomeness from beginning to end. It's just like the first two. Sony is really lucky that they were able to snag the distribution rights for it. After Madam Web, Concord, and Harold and the Purple Crayon, they desperately need a win. Yeah, not to mention that it feels kind of a coincidence that, not like in less than a month prior to Paddington in Peru, they also got Kraven the Hunter, and from the looks of things, there might be a chance that they would take an L on that one too. I mean, technically, you could say that they did get a little bit of a W with Venom: The Last Dance, because it looks like it is performing well at the box office. I mean, I know the reception has not been, the critical reception has not been great, but I mean, that's kind of the standard of the Venom movies. In a way, you could say that what Venom is to superhero films, the Hotel Transylvania movies are to animation. So there's kind of a little bit of that parallel. But regardless, though, with the thing is, hopefully it will go and help pick things up for Sony Pictures after 2024 being not so kind to the company. Anyways, what other comments do we have here? I recently rewatched the first two Paddington films, and they still hold up great, so no surprise, this one looks pretty decent. Emily Mortimer instead of Sally Hawkins will take some getting used to, but the visual effects on Paddington is still great, the comedy is still charming and cute, and the heart isn't Paddington too strong, but it's still very much there. It's gonna be a good watch, but since it's a Paul King-ish movie, I bring marmalade sandwiches to the theater, or do I bring hover chalks? Nah, bring a marmalade sandwich. Why not? Get immersed into the experience and just go and eat your sandwich. Oh, that would be a good idea. Oh, funny enough, that would be hilarious to see if movie theaters can actually go and do that, where they'll make like a special thing that instead of selling burgers, they would go and also sell marmalade sandwiches so that you could go and check it out in the theater. I mean, screw eating popcorn and soda. Get a sandwich of marmalade and Earl Grey to go and check out Paddington. All right. What other comments do we have here? Oh, we don't have as much time as I thought. Anyway. Oh, and I do see that in terms of the poll here, apparently 70% of you have voted that yes, you are excited to check out Paddington in Peru. So, yeah, already things seem to be at least a bit positive. Not too positive. It's not overwhelmingly positive, but there definitely is some positivity for Paddington in Peru. Anyways, back to the comment here. As a Peruvian descendant, I can't say for sure how believable it'll be to the Peruvian culture. Shockingly, it's not all jungle, but adding Machu Picchu was a nice touch. If the movie ends up being good, it'll be so amazing because my people get more representation. It's a place where we don't get much. As much as I love it, Emperor's New Groove is not realistic at all. Oh, wow, really? You're saying that a Disney movie is not being accurate to how things are in real life or accurate to its source material? What an absolute shock. I mean, I love The Emperor's New Groove as well, but I mean, I'm not going to be using it as my example to, oh, this must be how all Peruvians are, They all have their own singing little guy coming in to like belch out their theme song, All right. Anyways, I'll read two more comments and then, or two or three comments. I love the Paddington movies. I can't wait to see the next one. Looks like it will be just as great as the previous one. And you were funny when you had the had to deal with that ad before watching the trailer. A little fun fact: one thing that distastes me about the first Paddington film is that it was distributed by the Weinstein Company in the U.S. One thing I am grateful about the third film is that Sony will be distributing it. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, the legacy of Paddington needs to live on outside of the Weinstein Company. You know, that's like the one awkward thing about Paddington. Anyways, I will say this again. The Paddington movies are super charming and adorable. I've only seen the first movie, but I really need to watch the second movie because I heard amazing things about the sequel. Absolutely, you should. When it comes to Paddington's third adventure, it looks like it can be really fun and adventurous. Even with the mixed to positive reception it got, I'll still be seeing it to make my own opinion. Can't wait for more of that lovable bear. Okay, I got you now. As someone who really enjoyed the first two Paddington movies, I'm looking forward to this. It does seem like it keeps some of the spirit of the first two movies, even though Paul King isn't directing it this time. But I can definitely see where you're coming from with the whole action aspect. But overall, I'm still looking forward to this no matter what. Not to mention, Sony desperately needs another win after their failure this year. Exactly, man. All right, so we're now going to go on to our first break. And when we do return, we're going to watch another trailer. But this time around, let's just hope, and I really do mean let's hope, that it will be better than that teaser trailer that they put out, which was honestly the worst trailer I may have possibly seen for a Netflix animated feature. Can this movie redeem itself? Well, we'll find out after this. Welcome back. Now, when it comes to the next trailer we're about to watch, this will be for an animated feature that will be released on Netflix. But this is not the first time that we have seen something from this particular movie. Now, previously, they did release a teaser trailer, and I put that in quotes because, my God, did they show quite a lot in that teaser trailer, down to the point where you might as well not even call it a teaser and just call it a trailer. But that teaser trailer, though, it was so bad. It really gave this movie quite a bad name. I would even say it's probably one of the worst trailers for an animated movie release on Netflix that I have seen. Like, it really was that awful, displaying, like, debatably the worst aspects of that movie. And keep in mind, I have yet to even see that feature myself. But then again, everybody needs a second chance, or everybody deserves a second chance. And this is no exception to this movie right over here. So maybe with this new trailer, it will find a way to go and redeem itself and show a much better side to present why this movie would be worthwhile. And with that said, let us now go onto the next trailer, as we're going to be checking out the upcoming Skydance animation movie, Spellbound.
I don't understand your affection for this vile vermin.
And that is Spellbound, to which the movie is going to be coming out on Netflix November 22nd. So, with the trailer that we have seen, did it improve upon itself from that horrible teaser trailer? Is it better than the last time we have seen Spellbound? And my answer is, I guess? Maybe? It's kind of a step up, but not that much. I mean, hey, at least they're not shoving down our throats the fact that John Lasseter is producing it. Like, it's just like that one little time that, like just quickly mentioning, just saying he is the visionary behind Toy Story. So it's just that, at least, that's it. And I mean, the soundtrack is a little bit better. I mean, it's, you know, they're not like sampling some overused pop song. Like it still sounds a bit generic, but I mean, it's, you know, it does make it feel more cinematic compared to last time. But other than that, though, yeah, what does this movie offer? I mean, it's just, there's nothing about it for me that feels like it really does stand out. There's nothing that I feel like not only does it not improve some of the aspects to go and sell me that I should go see this movie, but I look at it and it's just, it feels bland. It really does. And not to mention, like, now, like in this case here, now they made the story very clear that it's about this princess played by Rachel Zegler, and her parents are now turned into monsters, and she has to go through this fantastical, perilous journey in order to bring them back, you know, to turn them back into human. And funny enough, I know this comparison has been done before, and many people have already pointed this out, but looking at this, based on this trailer, they really are presenting this like this Americanized version of Spirited Away. Like now the plot line makes it very clear how Spirited Away has this strong influence on this movie, especially with the goal of this, this young female protagonist who has to find a way to turn her parents back into humans, while at the same time goes on this journey to go and meet these magical, mystical creatures and stuff like that. So there's a lot of these like parallels in terms of the narrative, but in terms of the execution, it really does feel no different than any other American animated feature that you would go and regularly get. You know, you get all the, you know, it really does, like, especially when it comes to the humor. And that's one thing that honestly hasn't changed. The humor, I feel like, is an aspect that is kind of weak. And they barely even feel like jokes, honestly. Like, there's even one part that, honestly, it doesn't sound like much of a joke, but they're trying to sell it off as that. Like, like when her parents are starting to learn how to talk again, and then it's the dad's turn to speak, like this right here.
There must be so much you want to say to me.
I like the sound of my own voice.
You're my dad, all right.
Like, it doesn't even sound like much of a joke. And, like, even the ending one about, like, the little rodent, which is, like, the staple cute the staple cute marketable character, like, even at the end, like, like this thing over here.
I don't understand your affection for this vile vermin.
Like, honestly, it sounds like a joke that's already been done many times before, so already, like, a lot of the humor just sounds weak. And also, another thing I want to go and comment is, I don't know about you, but the animation doesn't seem as good as they previously presented. Like, one of the best things that I will say about the last trailer, the one positive thing is that at least they present the animation as being pretty strong. You know, it looks like it is a solid animation led by a team that really knows what they're doing and that they want to do their best to present their craft. This time, however, I don't know about you, but it felt like the animation got a little bit of a downgrade from before, or it doesn't seem as strong even compared to the last feature that they released with Luck. I don't know, it's just, especially like when you see this part right over here. Like, you see all this, and then suddenly, like, you got the random tornado, and, like, this part here, I don't know, like, that didn't seem impressive. I don't know, there's something about the animation that it almost looks like the kind of quality that would definitely look great on the big screen, but they had to go and take some shortcuts along the way. Which, honestly, it feels weird. It honestly feels weird saying that, because it has been reported with Skydance Animation, they really want to go all out with the budget, like literally spend, like going to near Disney levels at like $150 million or maybe even up to $200 million with each of their own movies. And not to mention, there is another thing that honestly bothers me, and this is a problem that it doesn't seem to have addressed from before. And I know I've already said that, well, the soundtrack is a bit of an improvement. You know, they're not taking something like Journey's Don't Stop Believing. But again, this is technically supposed to be a musical. And yet never once did we get to hear any of the songs that would that's going to be in this movie. We heard none so far. Like, even the soundtrack here, I don't know if it is going to be a song from the movie, but again, it just feels awkward and weird by the fact that they're trying to hide that this is a musical. I mean, even, like, I know some people are saying that, oh, well, you know, movie musicals don't really sell, so they don't display their musical numbers. But that's, you know, there's a part of it that's not necessarily true. Like, you got to give Disney some credit. Like, not just with the Moana 2 trailer that we got, but even like previously with Wish, they don't hesitate to go and present their musical numbers to get a little bit of a sample of what the songs are going to be. Rather it be in the Wish trailer where we would hear This Wish, or even with Moana 2, where they would go and play where they give a little bit of a sample of a few of the songs that would be presented. And yet here, however, they still haven't. Like, we still have no idea of how the songs are going to be. And it's honestly insane considering that these are apparently going to be musical numbers from Alan Menken and Glenn Slater, which they have previously collaborated on both the Tangled movie and the Tangled series. And those are absolutely phenomenal. I would debatably say those are the songs are probably the most anticipated aspect in this. And yet they still don't want to present it because they rather want to spend the marketing to go and highlight that, hey, look, we got John Lasseter producing this. It's honestly ridiculous. And this is why, honestly, my overall thoughts from what we have seen in this Spellbound trailer is just, at best, this is going to be a forgettable movie. It's going to be, you know, like, the most positive that I can go so far right now is that, well, at least it doesn't look like it's going to be the worst animated film of the year, or even the worst animated film of the year that was released on Netflix. At least it looks like it could be better than the Sandy Cheeks movie, but that's that's the most that I can go with it. There's just still a lot of this that just feels very bland. That feels like it's just trying to take elements from other from like other movies and other studios. It still looks like it's trying to rip off Disney. It still looks like it's really going to rip off Spirited Away. It doesn't look like it has its own voice. And from there, I feel like when this is going to be coming out, oh boy, I feel like the results of it is most likely going to be a train wreck, or it's going to be quickly overshadowed on day one, especially with the fact that on the same day of its release, we're going to have not just Gladiator 2, which is highly anticipated, and so far the word of mouth has been positive so far, but also we got another highly anticipated movie that is also a musical, Wicked. So imagine this versus Wicked. Yeah, it has no chance. But you could debatably say, well, technically the direct competition is going to be Moana 2. But I can tell you right now, it ain't going to be like last year where magically Leo managed to top Wish. No, it ain't going to be like that again, especially when there is indeed massive hype with Moana 2. And it was even reported that, according to Fandango, Moana 2 right now got the fastest pre-sale tickets sold for any animated feature this year. Yes, even more so than Inside Out 2. So honestly, there is no way that Spellbound would actually overshadow Moana 2 or even any of the other features. The only way that it has a chance to have some form of relevancy is if it turns out to be one of the best animated films of the year. And I'm talking about on par with what we have gotten so far with Inside Out 2 and The Wild Robot. And honestly, based on what we have seen in this trailer, I seriously doubt that. I don't think it is ever going to occur. Or another option would be something that is so bad. It's either like, I would be proven wrong that maybe it's on par or even worse than the Sandy Cheeks movie. And it would end up making like people online look at that movie and go, yeah, you know what? Maybe Inside Out 2. Maybe Inside Out 2. You know what? Maybe Wish ain't so bad after all. Especially after watching that piece of crap. I mean, I could totally be wrong, but that's the only way that Spellbound could end up becoming relevant in any capacity. It's either it turns out to break all expectations to be amazing or break all expectations to be one of the worst movies of the year. But so far in this case, it just looks bland. It looks like, it honestly looks like a pass. Honestly, there's no other way to go and explain it. It just like, so far, it's just very unimpressive. And what they're showing is just, again, it's forgettable at best. But then again, maybe I'll be proven wrong when the movie does come out on Netflix on November 22nd. And with that said, now I will go to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what did you think of the Spellbound trailer? Do you guys disagree with me and you think that this is... Ooh, excuse me. Do you think this is actually better than what I'm leading on to? Do you guys agree with me and it looks bland and forgettable at best? Let me know what you all think. And also, I'm going to go onto the poll here, and I might as well go and ask you all, go and make the question, will you be watching Spellbound? So I'm just going to go and ask yes or no. So let's go and make this interesting. All right, now let's see what the chat wall has to say. The main problem I have with the marketing of Spellbound is that we have 2 trailers in, and we haven't heard a single mention that this film is a musical, and that Alan Menken is doing the score and music. For that, I'm kind of shocked that we haven't heard what Alan's music and sound is like in this film. Are they thinking that the songs suck or something? Other than that, the film looks super generic, and releasing it around the same time as Moana 2 might bury by the general audience. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's see now. I am aware that this trailer is an improvement, especially when they not shoved down John Harasser's filmography, but it's not saying much, since I do agree that this trailer is so boring. I even say that the animation does not look impressive to look at all. So overall, despite the fact that the trailer improved a little, it is still not enough for me to want to watch this movie on Netflix, unless I want to torture my eyes, kinda. Well, okay, that I'll admit, okay, I'm gonna side with Spellbound a little bit. I don't think this is gonna be something that will torture your eyes. Again, the animation is decent. It doesn't look great, but it is decent. If you want real torture for your eyes, again, you could go and check out the Sandy Cheeks movie. Anyways, while the mentioning of John Lasseter is not as bad as from the visionary behind Cars 2, it's a real pity that Alan Menken is being thrown under the bus by the marketing team. But I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't a little curious about this, and that maybe, from a visual standpoint, I might like this more than Luck. As for Rachel Zegler, the new star of the live-action Snow White, have you read anything about people harassing her and her apartment because of the ongoing backlash? Yeah, no, I do empathize with Rachel Zegler. Like, honestly, it honestly is so crazy. Like, I feel like the fact that Rachel Zegler is in a movie or is starring in a movie produced by John Lasseter, I find that to be far more problematic than whatever hot take that she would go and say about Snow White. Like, yeah, I don't agree with her, but that doesn't deserve the harassment. Like, really, honestly, the harassment, you know what the reason is. It's not because of what she said. Like, defending Disney's honor and stuff like that, it's nothing but virtue signaling. You know that those people who do harass Rachel Zegler or make those rant videos about Rachel Zegler, it's mainly because she is a woman of color. I'm just saying. Anyways, yeah, this trailer is just okay-ish, but I'm pretty much very cautiously optimistic about it. I just think the premise is absolutely cliche at this point. That humor still isn't very good, and that song of the trailer is very generic. I'll give that the animation does look pretty good to me, and the voice acting isn't that bad by these recognizable actors. Also, only mentioning John Lasseter once is definitely a godsend to me. Look, I like Vicky Jackson, and she seems really nice, but this ain't it. Yeah, I mean, like, nothing against Vicky Jackson, and I mean, I understand she has to do her job and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't think this is a prime example of what she can do. And by the way, I do see, according to the poll, that 75% of you, 3/4 of those who have voted, will say no, you are not interested in checking out Spellbound. So in that regards, it's already not looking good for Netflix. And you know, based on the previous reports that I have heard, that apparently Netflix really wants Skydance Animation to be like the next big studio of the platform. Yeah, it's not going to be boasting well, or at the very least, they are off to a pretty bad start right here. Anyways, I really wanted to be fair and assume the first trailer was just bad marketing. And after seeing this one, nah, that was just mid. The animation is fine enough, but the plot is as generic as it gets. The voice acting feels like a waste of talent, and the jokes doesn't feel like jokes. They just feel like sentences. Overall, I see no reason why I should watch this over Moana 2 or even Wicked. At least I feel like I'm gonna remember those films. Exactly. Like this, exactly. At best, it just feels very forgettable. It just feels very bland, and also, it looks like it's going to be boring. So, and if the film turns out to be boring, then, boy, that's going to be a big issue for it. Anyways, I will watch the movie so I could support the people who worked on this. I could see it as a not memorable animated film. Let's just hope it does not get nominated for an Oscar, as we have seen other animated films nominated for Best Animated Feature like Shark Tale and The Boss Baby. As you are reading this, you just remember that those films were both nominated for the Oscars. Yes, I know, but I don't think that's going to happen. If there is going to be a Netflix animated movie or an animated movie that was released on Netflix that will get a nomination, it looks like the odds are going to be a lot more in the favor of Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. That looks like it's going to get a strong chance to get it, more so than any of the other features. So I'm just saying, I would be shocked if Spellbound somehow finds a way to get a nomination. Honestly, I just feel like there would be no way whatsoever. Anyways, this trailer really doesn't impress me. This honestly just looks generic, and it feels like John Lasseter is trying to recreate his time at Disney. We still don't hear the musical numbers. Maybe the animation looks decent, but it just feels empty. And at this point, John Lasseter really isn't doing Skydance Animation any favors. Also, it's worth noting, this is one of the several animated projects from Netflix that got leaked a few months ago, alongside the Plankton movie, Arcane Season 2, and more. Yes, that is kind of funny to mention. It is true that it did get leaked, but notice how when it did get leaked, nobody was talking about it. Like, a lot of the attention was given to stuff like Arcane Season 2 or the Plankton movie, but I don't think I saw a single person even mention about Spellbound, or even talked about Spellbound, or saw any of the leaked footage. Like, no one honestly cared. So I think that it's a pretty bad sign to how, like I said, at best, this movie is just going to be absolutely forgettable. Let's see now. Well, at least it's advertising the movie and not the producer who, without saying his name. I still don't care for this. It's fine. Cute, inoffensive. It's better than the last trailer. I just kind of wish it was more interesting. Like, I feel like it wants to be Moana, but it feels more boring. Rachel Zegler, she deserves better. Lucy Gray Baird was the best I've seen her in. Lasseter, just retire. Cars 2 is considered a cult movie now. You don't need to try and redeem your career. Yeah, exactly. There's no going back. And especially in the current state of how Skydance Animation is, I think it is pretty clear, like, everybody knows that the problem with Skydance Animation right now is John Lasseter. It's just that the higher-ups don't want to accept that problem. They're the only ones who are looking at John with rose-tinted glasses because of their nostalgia of John Lasseter and the hopes that he could recreate that magic of what he did at Disney. But they know it's not going to happen. If one way or another, it's either John Lasseter has to quit or they gotta let him go. I think it's ultimately going to be one of those two options in order for Skydance Animation to survive, especially when there's going to be that massive transition period when Skydance is going to ultimately acquire Paramount. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment, and then we're going to move on to our next break. All right. While I could say that this trailer was a bit better than the previous trailer, even though it's not much, it still impressed me to watch this movie. I feel like it's a Spirited Away ripoff, and the animation looks like it's trying so hard to look like a Disney movie. I think it's safe to say that I'm going to pass on this and check out Moana 2. Yeah, well, funny enough, I don't think not many people are that interested in watching Spellbound, but for the few of you who are interested, then keep in mind that it will be coming out on Netflix on November 22nd, which, oh wow, we're actually in November now, so it is going to be in a few weeks. But anyways, we're going to go on to our next break, and when we do come back, we will have a discussion about a much better movie, a cinematic masterpiece, in fact, in which we will talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But we're not going to go and answer that question. But we're going to have an update in terms of the bigger question. When are we ever going to have a Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2? And what the fridge is taking so long, or what's preventing us from having a Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2? So stay tuned for that. Now, on our next story, we're going to talk about a movie that is highly beloved. One that, for those of you watching or listening, you have most likely have seen and most likely have enjoyed. And I know I enjoy it. I know it's one of my favorite movies. I'm, of course, talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And ever since that movie first came out back in 1988, there's been a lot of speculations in regards to a possible sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now, of course, we have known that there have been several attempts in the past in order to have Roger Rabbit's big comeback. But in order to have that, it's a little bit more complicated. But why is it that nowadays, even though Roger Rabbit is a very popular movie and very beloved, why is it that now, especially in this age of cinema, in which we have seen many nostalgic properties making a big comeback, especially recently, like with Beetlejuice, for example, how come we haven't seen one from Roger Rabbit as of yet? Well, according to the film's director, Robert Zemeckis, it turns out to possibly be Jessica Rabbit. Yes, allegedly, or well, apparently, Robert Zemeckis says that right now, the reason why we don't really have a Roger Rabbit sequel is mainly because Disney would not want to do anything with Roger's femme fatale girlfriend, Jessica Rabbit. Now, I could go and read you what Robert Zemeckis actually said in this article here on Variety, but you know what? I'm actually going to let Robert Zemeckis say it himself, because the source of it all is actually on the podcast Happy, Sad, Confused with Josh Horowitz. And from there, in the podcast, they were mostly talking about a lot of Robert Zemeckis' career, and especially his latest movie that just released here. But there was a little segment in which they talked about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and even a little bit on why is it we don't have a sequel as of yet. And this is what Robert Zemeckis has to say.
Here's what you have to know, and you know this. The current Disney would never make Roger Rabbit today.
Yeah.
So they can't make a movie with Jessica in it.
Right.
So there's very little. So the Seaman and Price sequel script isn't ever going to see the light of day, as good as it is.
Really?
Because I mean, look what they did to Jessica at the theme park. They trussed her up in a trench coat. You know.
Can't show it.
Right. Exactly.
Was Eddie Valiant in there? Obviously, we lost the great Bob Hoskins. Was there a way
So then he would go on to go and discuss about a little bit of the original idea of what they wanted to do in the sequel, specifically mentioning how originally they were thinking about having Eddie Valiant come back, but only as a ghost, where he would just pop in from time to go and help out Roger in whatever would be happening in the sequel. But unfortunately, since Bob Hoskins passed away several years ago, that idea could never really happen. Or they could try to do that, but it would honestly be a bit distasteful. So the big thing to go and highlight is the fact that apparently Robert Zemeckis believes that it's because of Jessica Rabbit why we do not have a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Or at least Disney wants to keep their distance away from Jessica Rabbit, mainly because of the image that, she's a little too sexy for Disney, and Disney wants to maintain their family-friendly image and stuff like that. And honestly, I'm just going to go and say this right now. When you take a step back from what Robert Zemeckis is trying to say, and you look at the big picture of what his argument is, it's really not that different from what many other people have been complaining about Disney, and it has become so tiring. And honestly, it's an argument that is becoming less and less true, where nowadays it's not even like a relevant statement anymore. It's like, I would even say it's like you can't even say that it's true anymore. And that is the fact that, oh, Disney has become way too politically correct. Yes, it's another one of those comments. It's another one of those boomer style complaints where they say that, oh, Disney nowadays is just so politically correct. They're not like how they used to be when they're so grand and they can do whatever they want. And now Disney is just being so restrictive and politically correct for the sake of being family friendly and to be all PC and liberal and just trying to make money and whatever, it's really, at the end of the day, just that same old song and dance number, that same repetitive argument, which I'm just going to go and say that I don't think you could really say that anymore, especially when nowadays Disney is becoming more open to make mature content, to make things that are not only geared a little bit more towards adults, but to even make flat out R-rated movies out there. And the best example to go and prove this is what we have seen this summer with Deadpool and Wolverine. And that feature went all out in terms of its R rating. Like, it really did its best to ensure that it is made for adults, with cursing galore, especially both from Deadpool and Wolverine, and not to mention being highly violent with all the slicing and dicing and the gore and the explosions and all that kind of stuff, like all the kind of human mutilation that you would see. Like especially all the different creative ways you would see so many different characters just bleed out and just perish on screen and stuff like that, especially with that opening bit where Deadpool would be dancing to Bye 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 by NSYNC and just slicing and dicing all those people. Like, at that point, like, it is unapologetically R-rated. And not only that, but they also acknowledge that it is from Disney. Like, yeah, sure, they didn't flat out put up the Disney logo in front of the film, but at the same time, they're not hiding that the movie is from Disney either. Like, they're starting to really open up. And not to mention, like, even in terms of trying to go and promote it, like, Disney decided to go all out and say that, yeah, this is our movie, actually. And even like when you went to Disneyland during the summer, like, you would see like those little shows that they did with Deadpool and Wolverine, with those like the story time with Deadpool stuff. So from there, like, the big point that I am trying to say, especially with the fact that Deadpool and Wolverine has now become one of the most successful films of the year, one of the two next to Inside Out to make over $1 billion at the box office, it's at the point that now Disney is starting to become a lot more open in terms of making adult content or making things that are not exclusively family friendly. Like, they don't have to attach the Disney brand to just be for families and kids. Now they can go and have a little bit more freedom or be a little bit more experimental with trying out more mature content. And with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, both critically and financially, now they can go and try to be a bit more adult and be not as worried about doing things that wouldn't be perceived as family friendly. Now, I'm not saying this to say that, oh, they can make the Roger Rabbit sequel be R-rated as much as they want. You know, I'm not saying that, oh, we can make that Roger Rabbit sequel be extremely violent, or have Jessica Rabbit just go all out and like just get naked and be in like full frontal nudity right in front of the camera. I'm not saying that at all. Even though there is that dumb male side of me that would love to see that, like, that's not my point that I am trying to make. What I am trying to say is that the image of Jessica Rabbit being too mature or being a little bit too scandalous for Disney, that is not something that they should really be worried about. If anything, if it seems a little too mature for the Disney brand, then they could just go and label it as a 20th century movie. You know, kind of do, you know, because nowadays the 20th century logo is pretty much used the same way like how Touchstone was back in the 80s and 90s. And especially with the fact that technically Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a Touchstone movie. So if you would make a sequel to Roger Rabbit and stay true to that more mature tone, then you could just go and give it the 20th century logo. So it wouldn't be that big of a problem. And speaking of Jessica Rabbit specifically, I just want to go and point out that even though the way that Disney would use Jessica Rabbit, it's not as prominent as it was back in the 1990s, Disney is not hiding Jessica Rabbit either. Because Robert Zemeckis' comment, he makes it sound like Disney wants nothing to do with Jessica Rabbit. They don't want anything to do with Jessica and try to bury her. You know, kind of frame Jessica Rabbit no differently than how Disney is treating Song of the South nowadays, but I know that is absolutely not true. Like, first of all, you got the comment in regards to Disneyland, where they updated her and gave her a trench coat. But there is a lot of context that he is missing, because he forgot to go and mention the fact that not only did they update Jessica Rabbit, and yes, they did give her a trench coat where she's not as, risque or as much of a femme fatale like we see her in the movies, but also they gave her a bigger role. They gave her more of a purpose. In the original Roger Rabbit cartoon spin, she was mostly presented as a bit of a damsel in distress, no differently than like how Princess Peach was in the Mario games. But this time around, they decided to give her a bit more of a bigger role. Like when they added that cue to cartoon spin, they did explain that now Jessica has become a private detective, that, you know, that she has a bit more of a bigger role, that she would go and fight off the weasels alongside Roger Rabbit to make her a more of a stronger character than she was in the original cartoon spin. So that's just a big clarification that I want to go and do. And not to mention, if Robert Zemeckis really does believe that Jessica Rabbit is a problem for Disney and that they don't want to display her whatsoever, then why is it that Disney is still selling merchandise with Jessica Rabbit's image in there? Like, if you go to the Disney parks, you'll still see plenty of stuff that Disney is selling that does feature Jessica Rabbit, and not in the same way like in Cartoon Spin where she has a trench coat and stuff like that, but like the same femme fatale sex bombshell that we all know and love for Jessica. In fact, I actually have a proof of this. When I was at Disney last year, when I went to Disney World, I actually did go and buy a bunch of pins. And one of them that I purchased, I actually have it right over here. If you could probably see it, this is a pin of Jessica Rabbit, and she's presented in a sexy pinup pose, and it says here, and like it even has the writing, "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way." And keep in mind, this is something that I have purchased last year, and it's something that I know to this day Disney is still going out and sell. Like, they're still presenting Jessica Rabbit as that sexy bombshell. So in that regards, I don't know what the fridge he's really talking. I don't know what Robert Zemeckis is talking about. Like, Disney is still highlighting and presenting Jessica Rabbit, maybe not as prominently as they used to. It ain't like in the early 90s when Roger Rabbit's popularity is on par to like Mickey Mouse or how Stitch is nowadays. But they're still acknowledging Jessica Rabbit and still presenting her as the sexy bombshell. So they're not hiding it whatsoever. So it really shows that when it comes to Disney, if they would go and make that Roger Rabbit sequel, maybe they would update her character a little bit to be more than just a femme fatale and stuff like that, but they won't take out the sexy aspect from Jessica Rabbit. So I have to heavily disagree with him that Jessica Rabbit seems to be a problem. In fact, I'm honestly going to go and turn things around on this. If I would blame one problem, if I would have to point out an issue of like what's really holding us back from actually having a Roger Rabbit sequel, I don't think it's actually because of Jessica. I think it's more because of Robert Zemeckis. I think it's really because of him why I think we don't have one yet. And that's mainly because, well, I'm just going to be brutally honest, but when was the last time that we've had a good Robert Zemeckis movie? And I don't mean like a masterpiece in the levels of like some of his earlier works like Back to the Future or Roger Rabbit or Castaway or anything like that. Like, when was the last time that we have seen a legitimately good Robert Zemeckis film that that people have actually enjoyed? Like, write down in the chat wall, honestly. Write down what you think. Like, okay, I've seen people comment The Walk back in 2015. There was Flight in 2012. Some are saying Polar Express. But honestly, you kind of you're kind of proving my point. It's been honestly a long time that we have seen Robert Zemeckis make a movie that honestly feels very much worthwhile. Because the quality of the films that he's been putting out now, oh my God, let's be honest, they've been bad. Honestly, the Robert Zemeckis of nowadays is certainly not like the Robert Zemeckis back in the back in the 80s, 90s, and even a bit of the 2000s. Because this Robert Zemeckis we have now, it's honestly awful. And a lot of the movies are just, a lot of his movies are just awkward at best. We got films like Welcome to Marwen, or even that new movie Here. A lot of critics are saying that it's not that worth it. And especially the Pinocchio remake. Oh my goodness, did he make a mess out of that Pinocchio remake. And I'm just going to say, if Disney would announce that they would make a sequel to Roger Rabbit and they would bring back Robert Zemeckis, I'd honestly be pretty hesitant. I don't know if I would be as excited as I'd want to be, considering that the quality of his features are really not what they used to be. And I mean, considering that it is Roger Rabbit, it would make sense if you would get someone like Robert Zemeckis be involved so that in some capacity, he would have a say in terms of making that Roger Rabbit film. But as is now, as he is right now, if it's going to be, if he's going to be bringing out quality entertainment, like what we have seen with stuff like Marwen or Here or the Pinocchio remake, it's not going to be worthwhile. It's just going to be nothing but an absolute wasted potential. It's hard for me to feel like it's hard for me to feel like I'd agree with him, or that I'd believe him that the script that they got right now is actually good. Maybe it is, but you need someone to go and execute it. And right now, it should not be Robert Zemeckis. And by the way, I just want to go and pretty much mention, by the way, that I just want to go and quickly mention that some people are even saying there is also the copyright troubles. And that's often like an overlooked issue that not many people have discussed in terms of Roger Rabbit. Like, the reason why Roger Rabbit is not as prominent as he used to be is largely due to copyright troubles, where the copyright of Roger Rabbit is as complicated as Spider-Man's film rights. You know, it's kind of like a constant struggle between Amblin and Disney. And like, they would often have a very hard time trying to agree upon something in order to bring back Roger Rabbit. I mean, Disney got very lucky that they were able to even bring back Roger Rabbit for that 2022 Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie. But other than that, though, you know, I feel like the issue is a lot more complicated than the kind of comment that Robert Zemeckis has made. Again, this is nothing more than that petty boomer comment of, Disney is so PC, when it's obviously been proven that it's not really true. Disney has grown to become a lot more mature with the stuff that they are bringing out. And they're not, and even in terms of the sexiness, they're not really afraid to go and display that. Case in point, check out some of the episodes of Agatha All Along. And even with Jessica Rabbit, they're still selling her image. They're still selling merch related to her. So there's nothing that's really holding Disney. You know, I don't think the arguments that Robert Zemeckis is making in terms of why we don't have a Roger Rabbit 2, I don't think it's that. I don't think it has to do with how Disney is right now or how Jessica Rabbit is. I think it is more related to Robert Zemeckis and the copyright troubles with Amblin. So I just want to go and put out my piece. Like, and I know that it is my opinion, and I don't know if like everybody is going to agree with me with saying that, but yeah, I know that Robert Zemeckis is the director of Roger Rabbit, but like I said before, he's not how he is right now. He's not like the director that we once knew and loved. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think about the comments that Robert Zemeckis made about why we don't have a Roger Rabbit sequel yet? Do you guys agree with him? Do you guys not agree? What do you and also, what do you think about the way that Disney is handling Jessica Rabbit nowadays? Let me know what you think. All right, let's see now. This is honestly a really stupid comment for Robert Zemeckis to make. Disney is more than willing to show Jessica very prominently. How I honestly have to agree with you, though I have to agree with you, and I think it's because Robert Zemeckis and because of how he's not what he used to be, rather it be with the Witches movie. Oh yeah, I forgot about that Witches movie, or especially the Pinocchio remake. Seriously, it kind of says a lot when Pinocchio, A True Story is better. At least I can laugh at how bad that movie is. Yeah, honestly, I don't know if I would fully agree there. Like, I would say that as a movie, A True Story is worse than the Disney remake. But in terms of the enjoyability, yeah, I honestly would have a lot more fun watching A True Story more so than the Pinocchio remake. All right, what else do we got here? Oh, I highly doubt Jessica Rabbit is the reason why they can't make a sequel. She's a woman who knows she's hot, she's confident, she's loving, and she's an ace icon. It's not like her original outfit was that skimpy. The real reason is every company having a strong hold on IPs and that they won't share unless it's an exorbitant price. Like, I could come up with several Roger Rabbit sequels that are about the animation industry and history. Zemeckis is just a bitter boomer. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree there. My big question when a Roger Rabbit sequel comes up is just, do we even need one? Roger Rabbit is one of those movies that works best as a standalone. I think it was Brad Bird who says sometimes a story ends at the end. But as for the worry about Jessica Rabbit, no. Besides, with Zemeckis' recent track record with visual effects heavy movies, we may be dodging a bullet. I mean, as long as Roger isn't making a terrible Chris Pine joke. Oh yeah, that is so true. That, my God, like the jokes on Pinocchio, it just reminds me of how cringe that they could be. Like, especially from that version of Honest John. And I mean, I love Honest John in the original Pinocchio, but that Keegan-Michael Key version was just awful, especially it's like, yes, Pinocchio, I shall make you an influencer. Let's call you Chris Pine. Oh, geez. It's just an extra reason why I feel so sorry for Chris Pine nowadays. He's been getting some terrible luck, and he doesn't deserve it. Rather it be with box office failures like with the Dungeons & Dragons movie and Wish, or even his directorial debut that really didn't work out, or even that joke right there. Let's be honest, Chris Pine deserves better, and he deserves more recognition for the works that he has done. I mean, like, say what you will about Wish or King Magnifico, but at least, like, Chris Pine did give Magnifico some charm. Like, at least he tried to make King Magnifico charismatic, or even in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. My God, like, do I need to explain how fun the dude is in that movie? The only reason why you wouldn't understand is because you may have not seen it. I just want to go and lay that out right there. Anyways, let's see. Honestly, I think it would be awesome to have a Roger Rabbit sequel and maybe take some inspiration from Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin by making a film about her being a detective. But I agree with you that the problem of making a sequel is far more complicated than a stupid argument about Jessica herself. Yeah, if anything, it honestly feels like a distraction from the real problems of why we don't have a Roger Rabbit sequel yet. And also, just to go back from the previous comment, I do agree, like honestly, it's like, cool if we would have one, but then again, we can live without a Roger Rabbit sequel, considering that movie, like, is just pure genius, and it would be next to impossible to go and, like, make something that would be as good as that. Anyways, yeah, I'm not surprised that some people would think about that Jessica Rabbit's sexiness is the reason of their problems. I think even beyond that, well, I actually don't think Robert Zemeckis is the issue either. Honestly, if you ask him to come back, I wouldn't hesitate if it would be good. He officially lost his touch. I know they say it's an IP problem, but I mainly think we can't have another sequel because they don't have a clear idea on how to do another film with cartoon characters again. Yeah, and honestly, I feel like with even with that Chip and Dale movie, like, that's the closest we've gotten to a Roger Rabbit sequel. And I know there's been some different reactions to it, but for me, it was like, I ended up, I didn't hate it. Like, it ended up turning out to be a lot better than I expected, but the movie was kind of forgettable, honestly, especially like when the plot is just so bland, it just sucked. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we go on to our next break here. Let's see. I'll go with this one. If it's a Jessica Rabbit problem, then make some changes to make the character's appearance. Like, look at Ariel from The Little Mermaid. She looks better with great personality. Make Jessica Rabbit more a strong, feminine, not damsel in distress, and less revealing while staying true to the original design. Also, make Roger Rabbit's sequel PG-13. Walt Disney Animation Studios can start their adult animation label like Illumination did with Moonlight. Don't give excuses, Robert. You don't like women. Okay, hold on. I'm not gonna go and accuse Robert Zemeckis of being a misogynist by pinning the blame on Jessica Rabbit. I don't want to go and make that statement whatsoever, and I don't think that is true that Robert Zemeckis is a misogynist. That's not the issue whatsoever. I just think that, honestly, again, it just feels like nothing more but a boomer problem of honestly, that I can pretty much say right now is the big lie that Disney is so PC. All right, so now we are going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, we're going to go and talk about another cult classic. But this time around, the issues with it are a lot more technical than a comment from a filmmaker. So we will be right back, and I will show you how not to go and do an upscale. All right, welcome back. Now, when it comes to our next story, we're going to talk about a different cult classic movie. One that may not be as recognizable as Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but one that has a very devoted fan base. And on the surface, it sounds like very exciting news, especially when this movie is going to be making a comeback to the big screen. But there is a little bit of a catch to it that may spoil a bit of that excitement. And what I'm talking about, of course, is in regards to Interstellar 5555, or as the full title is, or as what it's fully called, Interstellar 5555, the 5 Tori of the 5 Ecrit 5 Tar 5 Istum. Wait, is that not how you say it? I mean, I literally read that, right? But anyways, yes, Interstellar 5555 is going to be coming back to the big screen. And for those of you who don't know what Interstellar 5555 is, it's a Japanese animated feature that is based on the second album by Daft Punk called Discovery. And the best way to go and describe it is that what The Wall is to Pink Floyd and what Yellow Submarine is to the Beatles, Interstellar 5555 is to Daft Punk. That's the best way to go and summarize it. So hopefully that will give you a clear image of what this movie is. But yes, it has been reported that for one night only, specifically on December 12th, in 800 cinemas and in 40 countries, which yes, does include the United States, Canada, and several others. There's the full list that we got here. Trafalgar Releasing is going to be putting out Interstellar 555 as a 4K remaster. So not only will it be coming back to the big screen, but it will be coming back in 4K, like really upscaled. And on top of that, they have also revealed that there is going to be a special album dedicated to this occasion, to which I will be reading from my source here on Anime News Network, as it states. The band will also release a limited physical edition of the Discovery Interstellar 5555 edition album the next day. The limited edition includes the original Japanese edition artwork, stickers, and a Daft Club card. 3 editions will be available for sale. The 5555 gold vinyl, 5555 numbered CDs, and 25,000 black vinyl. So from there, it already sounds exciting. You know, you got this movie that many fans beloved, especially with the fact that it is the Daft Punk movie. Now it's going to be coming back to the big screen and also going to be upscaled. So a very exciting moment, you know, like when you got like a beloved, you know, like an animated film that fans really do enjoy, and that's going to be coming back to the big screen. That's like an experience that many don't want to miss. But the biggest catch, however, is the technology that they use in order to make it a 4K remaster, in which it has been noted that they used AI in order to upscale this. Now, I know some people might be wondering, well, is it really a problem that they would use AI? I mean, it's not like they use it in order to make the movie or make new scenes out of it. Like, is it just complaining about the use of AI in general? No, actually, there is a justifiable reason. And that is when you look at the results of the upscaled image. Like, you look at this and it's, you can already see a little bit of a problem. Like, you see what's going on with their eyes here, or even what's going on with this guitar. I don't know. There's something a little bit off that's going on here. Maybe in the next photo we'll get something better. Let's see. Oh boy. What is going on here? Why did the girl turn into a puppet? What is this? What's going on? Why is there a problem? Is this one okay? No, not really. No, the eyes are still a bit mushy here. Okay, but in all seriousness, though, I will say that not all the images look a bit crappy like this. You know, there are a few that they look pretty all right over here, like this little image with Daft Punk, and you know, like even this little kissing scene right over here, or like the romantic image that they got. But the point that I'm trying to make is that there are some pictures where, yes, it does show, like, oh god, yeah, even this one right over here, it does show that AI is being used. And you know, the saddest thing about this is that you got to keep in mind these are the images that the distributor, Trafalgar, this is what they put out to go and promote the movie. This is to go and display how they are presenting the 4K remaster. This is what they're showing off to try to promote the movie and the upscale itself. And yeah, I could see that it really is a problem right over here. Like, honestly, I just want to go and say that if you really need to go and use that technology in order to do this upscale, I will say that not everything about it looks terrible, but this is only a first step. That does, like, the fact that you're using AI in order to do this upscale, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have people to look over it in order to make sure that each frame actually looks crystal clear and perfectly respectable to the original feature. Like, honestly, I look at stuff, I look at what they did over here. I look at something like this. You know what this reminds me of? This honestly reminds me that someone actually has like the original film reels. They would do, they would have their little lunch break, and when they came back, they got a little bit clumsy, and they spilled some water onto the film reels, and they panicked. And for the rest of the time, instead of trying to clean it up or try to fix or solve the issue, like, they would go and do some mental gymnastics to say that what they did was not a problem. Like, they would just keep on working and just say, it's just a little wet. It's still good. It's still good. Because that's what it looks like. Honestly, you look at some of these images and they look like they got a bit messed up by water. Like, this is something that looks like it got water damage. Like, I don't see this as like a perfectly crystal clear HD remaster. This is something that there was something that tampered with the original image and it kind of got messed up. And that's why, like, we would get this kind of creepy imagery where the dude is falling in love in this planetary setting with this creepy Resident Evil doll. That's what it honestly looks like. And the thing is that if you are going to remaster something, if you are going to bring something to a bigger scale, you need to ensure that it has a human touch. You cannot go and be lazy about it, because then you're going to end up removing a lot of important detail that should be in those movies. And there was a time that I remember Disney would get backlash on it, especially for some of the Blu-ray re-releases. Like, there are some like, most of them, they actually turn out to be pretty okay. But when it comes to the Blu-ray versions of some of their older films like Cinderella, or especially The Sword and the Stone, the remaster job that they have done has honestly been considered to be quite awful. Like, it's been considered to be pretty bad, and Disney has gotten backlash from some animation fans and film restorers. They got backlash on that. But I'll even say that the work that they did on those, it doesn't even look that bad compared to stuff like this, where, like, it honestly feels a little too noticeable that the job was pretty much messed up over here. This is why it is, like, if you are going to do a restoration job, it is mandatory that you get people involved, that you need to have people, like I said, in order to go and check literally every frame of the picture to ensure that it is crystal clear, perfect, and presentable for the big screen or for whatever screen that people would go and check it out upon. Like, maybe this is fine as as like a base of it, but then you need someone to go and check in and to make those rearrangements to make sure that, you don't get any of those like awkward blurs, or that all the colors are perfectly fine, that they're crystal clear, or that the faces are not too distorted, especially like this one. You got to make sure that someone needs to go and check and be as meticulous as possible in order to ensure that the restoration job can actually work out. Otherwise, you're just going to end up having mess like this. And I mean, if you're going to have a movie in which some scenes are going to look like that, honestly, this honestly makes me feel hesitant to actually go and watch it on the big screen, because I'm not going to be in the mood for some nasty surprises. Now, if you want to have some actual good examples of remastered, especially those of restoring it into 4K, I'm actually going to bring back Disney again. Because, yeah, they didn't do a great job on certain films, and there are some that they did a pretty bad job on. But then recently, however, the restoration work that they have done, they took it a lot more seriously, and my God, people are praising it as some of the greatest restorations that you will ever find, especially in recent years. And a great example of that is the 4K remaster versions of Cinderella and Snow White. The work that the Disney Archivist has done, they are absolutely beautiful. They highly displayed the process that they went to in order to go and create that remaster, including getting some animation legends like Michael Giammo and Eric Goldberg to go and supervise it to ensure that the remaster actually does work out and that every little detail, even the ones that were once lost on the Blu-ray version, that they would go and come back. And honestly, nowadays, animation fans and Disney fans have been very excited to see what is going to be the next movie that they're going to go and completely remaster. I know for me personally, I'm very excited to see if there's going to be a day that we will see that kind of treatment be given to something like Fantasia or even Sleeping Beauty. They would look phenomenal with that kind of remaster treatment. So hopefully Disney will go and continue to do that, and that soon we will have an announcement on when they would go and actually release that. But there is also another example that I want to go and show you, and it is specifically something that is more fan-made, actually, and it's from a little company called Kineko Video. And this is actually fan-made restorations, but they've done a great job, actually. And in recent years, they've actually, they're mainly known to do a whole bunch of, anime restorations, whether it be stuff like Sailor Moon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball, and stuff like that. But recently, they actually did a restoration of the once lost Nelvana cartoon, The Devil and Danger Mouse. And just to show you like a little bit of an example, you'll see that, here, let me just, oh, great. Okay, more ads.
Building wealth.
Thank you. Well, at least it's
time.
less cringe than acts.
Live a little.
You know, like, okay,
While you
fine.
wait.
Wealth's simple. Okay, you can...
Get more for your money. And
You know
now-
what? No, we don't need the volume on this. You don't have to freaking listen to it. Okay, clean my X. Okay, well, that's a bit of a yikes. Let's go and skip that. So, yeah, like, just take a look at this restoration job that they did. I mean, yes, it still has the vintage look, but you notice that it is very, there is something about it that still looks very clean about it, that the colors are still pretty sharp. You know, it still has the vintage look, but hey, at least it's a lot sharper than it has ever been before, even preserving a lot of the original lines that were presented in the animation. So honestly, I applaud the team at Kineko Video for not just updating The Devil and Daniel Mouse, but to make this clear version. Like, this is so far the best that we have gotten from this. Oh, did I say Danger Mouse before? Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. Okay, that would be quite an odd crossover, may I say. But yes, okay, The Devil and Daniel Mouse. Yes, okay. All right, just to go and make that clarification there. But my point is that this is a beautiful restoration. And I know that this is something that requires a lot of hard work in order to go and actually bring out this clear version. This is not something that they can go and use AI in order to go and upscale it. No, this is it shows that this was actually done by hand in order to make sure that the restoration stays as true to the original film reel as possible. So going back into this, yeah, I know, like we just went to a massive downgrade, going from, you know, this beautiful version of the mouse, and then suddenly, oh God, yeah, oh yeah, we're talking about this bad restoration. So overall, honestly, I feel worried about this Interstellar screening. I don't know how the I don't know how the 4-scale remaster is gonna be, but honestly, just from seeing those images, I just feel very discouraged. And I think this is another prominent example of how AI is way too far from being the technology that it claims to be, that it is able to do all these wonderful things in order to go and, like, do the job far better than any person could in in just seconds. But we have not reached that point yet. And I don't know if we'll reach that point in years or maybe even decades. There is still a long way to go in order for AI to still be useful. Because with images like this, or like this, or like this, or even like this, it still requires a human touch in order to go and do a restoration job. Maybe AI can be used as a little bit of a tool, but you still need to hire a whole bunch of people in order to make a proper remaster. So I just want to go and express my comments onto that. So with that said, now I would like to go on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the restoration job that was done on Interstellar 5555? Do you guys think that it actually looks good? Are you guys put off by the look of it? And if you are a fan of Interstellar 5555, I would love to know your thoughts on it. All right, so let's see now. I myself never really heard of Interstellar 5555 before, but this is really upsetting. Just the fact that they would want to use AI to upscale it is just really bad and just flat out disgusting. Seriously, it makes me wish that this trend of wanting to use AI for things would just end. Seriously, why else do you think the Animation Guild is fighting to get a better deal? Oh, absolutely. And I mean, they're still fighting strong. And if you guys have not seen it yet, there is a petition that you can go and sign from the Animation Guild that you could put in your piece to go and help out the Animation Guild in order to get a better deal from the companies. So just want to go and quickly mention that. Anyways, I'll admit that I'm not an expert on upscaling, but just one look at this and I have to say, what? It's just an ordinary Daft Punk. Oh, what? It's just an ordinary Daft Punk. Oh my goodness! I get it. Remastering is a hard gig. But was there really nobody behind the scenes double checking it to see those mistakes? I've never seen the Daft Punk movie, though any movie with that many fives in the title is immediately in my good graces. But surely the original film looks better than that. Oh, absolutely. Like, honestly, I do recommend you go and check out Interstellar 5555. Again, if you enjoy films like The Wall or Yellow Submarine, that Interstellar movie is not that different. I think it would definitely be right up your alley. But this, on the other hand, or you know what? I just realized another movie that would be very similar. Actually, no, I'll save that for later. But yeah, honestly, I do recommend you go and check it out. But maybe not this version in particular. Just saying. Okay. Anyways, let's see. Okay, this AI thing is now killing me. Like, it is hard to find better technology for 4K. Is there better technology for 4K upscaling on old releases? Look at Lunar Remastered Collection, which is coming to modern consoles early next year. Most of the cutscenes, including the openings, are now updated from low quality 240p to full clean, high quality 4K. They can find the right people to do the restoration than just cheap AI. Also, I do apologize about the comment I gave in the last story. All right, hey, that's all. It's all good. At least you apologize. If I'm 100% honest, I do think that AI can be used in a good way. If they use AI as a proof of concept, then I could see it working out okay. But with that said, AI should not be used for official projects. So I'm definitely concerned about this remaster version on the film. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, that is an interesting take. Again, like, it is like, again, it's like what I mentioned before. You can use that as a base in order to go and continue your job to do the cleanup job for your restoration, but you should not use AI for the job. All right. What other comments are there? Another funny moment with you being bothered by those YouTube ads, focusing on the topic, that is the thing about AI. Sometimes the outcome can sometimes backfire. I want preservation for Disney films, animated and live action, to be remastered, probably by people, just like how Wish was made by people and not AI. I find it unfair that people accuse Wish of being made by AI. May I remind you about Hayao Miyazaki's statement about AI being used in film? Yeah, honestly, it's a very sleazy thing nowadays to go and accuse a movie that is being used, like, oh, this movie is so bad it's used AI, when obviously you don't have freaking proof of it. Like, honestly, that's just behavior that it belongs on Twitter, and you should stay on Twitter. And if you're still on Twitter, then you're most like, if you use Twitter as your primary social media, then at that point, maybe you're the one who's more cringe than Wish. Anyways, let's see what other comments are there. What other ones, just to see. All right, I guess I'll read one more. Then we'll go on to our, or maybe two. Okay, let's see now. I never watched Interstellar 5555, but I do enjoy Daft Punk's works. However, from what I see from the images, I'm not so sure. I feel like people are taking AI way too seriously and obsessed of using it in the entertainment industry. And using it on Interstellar 5555 is not okay. Seriously, AI needs to be banned nowadays. Maybe not banned, but just not into the entertainment industry like Hollywood, for example. And also, massive shout out, because holy crap, the dude manages to write the entire comment while replacing all the S's with a 5. Like, that is commitment right there. Anyways, I will be honest, upscales are not easy to do, especially if some of the films and shows are either old or obscure. But with the Daft Punk movie, sorry, that's not how you do it. I would love to see some upscales of my favorite shows, as long as they have the right materials needed to make it crisp and clean as possible. That's why animators are still fighting against AI and for their pay and treatment. Good thing I signed the petition earlier today. Hey, that's definitely nice. All right, now we're going to go on to one more break, and when we do return, we will go from upscaling, and then we're going to talk about something completely different. Stay tuned, because in this grand finale, we are going to have a lot more Legos. And now, everyone, it is time that we will go and cap off this episode with the grand finale. And for this grand finale, you guys remember when I just hesitated before mentioning that there was another movie that is similar to stuff like Interstellar 555, The Wall, and Yellow Submarine? There is a fourth movie I just realized that is very similar, and it just came out, actually, technically, Piece by Piece. Yes, the Pharrell Williams documentary. It's a little bit of the same thing, especially when they highlight, well, okay, it is a little bit more different. It's not as, it doesn't have like a scripted narrative. It is a documentary, but still though, it is a movie that does highlight a lot of Pharrell Williams music. So it's kind of like in that same genre a little bit, but it does make a really nice segue onto the final story that I have for you today, especially with the fact that, considering that Piece by Piece is the first Lego movie from Universal, well, now they have revealed there's going to be a lot more plans with what they have in store for the toys. And apparently, Universal has not one, not two, but 3 Lego movies in the works, all of which, by the way, are in live action. Now, just to let you know right now, we don't necessarily have any additional information as of yet of what these Lego movies entail. The most that we do know is just the fact that They're all live action, and we do know the people who are going to be working on them. So let me just go and read you here from my source on The Hollywood Reporter. The first movie is going to be from Jake Kasdan. And it says here, Jake Kasdan's feature has a script from Andrew Mogul and Gerard Paul. Gerard Paul. Okay. After Matt Ryder and Kevin Burrows wrote a previous version. Lego Group's Jill Wilfert and Ryan Christians serves as producers, as do Kasdan and Melvin Marr for Detective Agency. Then we got a second film, which will be brought to us by Patty Jenkins. Yes, Patty Jenkins helms a film from a screenplay that she co-wrote with Geoff Johns, which they previously collaborated on Wonder Woman 1984. Jenkins produces for Wickius Pictures. I don't know how to pronounce that. Alongside Wilfert and Christians. And finally, we got our last feature, which will be from Joe Cornish. Yes, Joe Cornish, not only is he directing, but he's also rewriting his movie script after Heather Ann Campbell of Rick and Morty wrote a previous take based on a treatment from Simon Rich. And once again, Wilfert and Christians produced. And other than that, that's pretty much all that we know about these Lego movies. Again, the only things we do know are just the writers, the directors, the producers, and the fact that they are going to be live action. We don't know anything else. We don't know the plots of these movies. We don't know what genre they're going to be. We don't know who the target audience is. We don't know if it's going to be a kid's film or an adult film or anything like that. We don't know if it's going to be serious or if they're going to be comedies. And we don't know if they're going to be films in which, we don't know if they're all connected per se. We don't know if these movies actually do have any form of connection. Like, are these all a part of a trilogy? Are these all connected in a way that they all belong in a cinematic universe? Or are these just going to be standalone movies? Honestly, nobody knows. And this is why, personally, I feel like this is going to be very interesting in the way that we're kind of back to where we were back in the early 2010s when we have first heard about a Lego movie, but have absolutely no idea of what they're going to be. It's interesting because I feel like with Piece by Piece, it's kind of like the transition movie going from what we know about the Lego movie to completely changing the definition of what a Lego movie is. Because you go and check out Piece by Piece, and yes, there are going to be those similarities to the Lego movie, especially with the animation style. And there are some of it that honestly can be weird and funny at the same time, especially when it's possibly the only movie that I can ever think of that actually features sexy Legos. I mean, considering that there are scenes that they have to recreate some music videos, there are times when they have to show some like sexy women in bikinis, but in Lego form. If you've seen the movie, then you know exactly what I mean. But the point that I am making is that there are those traits that are familiar to the Lego movie, but it is not built like a Lego movie. I mean, we're talking about a film that is actually a documentary. Like, it was it was entirely built as a documentary first, and then later the animation team had to completely change up the visuals so that it is all animated and all presented like a Lego movie. So from there, like, it is both expected and unexpected with what they have done with Piece by Piece. But now that we're going to be going on to the next phase and seeing these new Lego movies come out, and the fact that they are live action, now we completely don't know what's going to come up, and we don't know what's going to be the direction that they can take. We're pretty much back to square one in terms of how do you make a Lego movie? Because surely they're not going to go and repeat the same things like what Phil Lord and Chris Miller established with the 2014 movie. And yes, even though there are some live action segments on those features, it's not necessarily going to be in the same way. And with the way that they are saying that they are live action movies, I don't know if it's going to be the kind that they're going to go and do like some live action animation hybrid or anything like that. They seem to indicate it's just going to be live action movies and that's it. So at that point, it does raise the question, how do you do a live action Lego movie? I mean, there are many directions that I can imagine in my head. Like, one straightforward idea would be a biographical feature. You can talk about the creation of Legos. How were they first created? And then suddenly we would see the big boom of it. Or maybe you can go and do like some kind of Jumanji movie where you have, it's kind of like what we just saw with the trailer of Minecraft, where like these people suddenly got transported into the world of Legos or something like that. Or maybe you could do some kind of comedy with a guy who's all crazy about Legos and stuff like that. Like, the possibilities at that point are kind of endless, but it does sound like it does sound like they're going in a different direction than what the original Lego movie has established. I don't think they can go and repeat that same formula from Warner Brothers Lego movies, because then at that point it'll prove to be dry and it'll end up becoming a flop real quick with all those movies. I mean, like with the Lego movie, its legacy with Warner Brothers was very short-lived because they just kept on repeating the same thing again and again. And I mean, yeah, it was fun when we got it the first couple of times with the first Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie, but it was clear that people were immediately tired after we have seen the Lego Ninjago movie and the Lego movie, the sequel, the Lego Movie 2, the second part, when people just didn't really want it anymore. They're just tired of it and like immediately moved on. And that's why those features have become a flop. And I think it would be a massive mistake if they want to try to be like those Lego movies, because then at that point, it would just be like, it would just fall apart. It would just be like the same things that we have gotten again and again, and it would just become tiring so quick. So there is a chance that with people like Jake Kasdan, Patty Jenkins, and Joe Cornish, they could probably think of something new. Maybe they could try to think up of new ways they can go and produce a Lego movie. Again, the possibilities right there could actually be endless. But the big point that I'm trying to make here is that with Universal, now that they're with a completely different company, now they have the liberty to try to do something completely different and completely change up the definition of what is a Lego movie. And who knows, maybe there could be a possibility that maybe they could top what Lord and Miller has done with the original Lego movies. Maybe there could be a way that you could find a new formula to the Lego movie that could actually work out so much better than before, especially with the fact that they are live action. But I just feel like it would be very interesting to go and discuss. And who knows? This is a point. This is honestly something that I want to hear a lot more from you in the chat wall. What would be the possible ideas that they could go with live action Lego movies? Because maybe there is a possibility that it could turn out great. Like I understand, like some people might think like it's like a cringy cash grabbing idea, but that first Lego movie 10 years ago, like it proved people wrong that there can be fun, creative ways to make a Lego movie that could actually turn out to be amazing. It could actually turn out to be great. So maybe there is a chance that Kasdan, Jenkins, and Cornish, they could turn out something pretty, they could turn out something that's well done. Maybe they could have some fun ideas of their own that they could go and distribute to Lego. But specifically though, I know it might sound a little bit early, and I mean, there's not a whole lot that I could go and immediately comment onto this story right over here, but I just feel like this is a very interesting discussion piece. I feel like this is something that, we need to go back and forth in terms of what could be those ideas, and would it be a good idea in the first place to make a live action Lego movie? So now, I would like to go and ask you in the chat wall, what do you all think about a live action Lego movie, or having 3 live action Lego movies from 3 different from 3 different directors? What do you think they could do? What could be an idea of a possible Lego movie that they could go and try out? Or what would you like to see in a Lego movie? I would love to know your thoughts. If the chat wall has any thoughts, actually. Okay, there we go. I'll say right now, I think I am excited for more Lego films, but I'm not sure what it means to be in live action. Tell you the truth, that alone already sounds pretty confusing, since all the Lego films, even before, technically were in live action. Case in point, Ninjago had a cat in it. Maybe we'll get the idea, since I'll be all in on it. I even got to see Piece by Piece, and I'm surprised the moment that seems adult, they made them look kid-friendly. P.S. Why didn't you tell me the Minions were in it? Well, I mean, it's Pharrell Williams. You gotta have, at some point, mention about Despicable Me or his involvement with Illumination. I completely expected that the Minions would make some kind of appearance, especially if they're going to go and talk about Happy, considering that Happy was made as a song specifically for Despicable Me 2. The one thing that I will say that I really am surprised about is the fact that the cameo from the Minions was surprisingly short. I was thinking that they would probably have like a bigger role that they would go and present, or one thing I would even say that I'm really surprised about with Piece by Piece, I am shocked they didn't even have an interview with Chris Meledandri. Like, I was expecting maybe they would have a chance to talk to the guy in terms of the influence that Pharrell's music had, but no, they didn't. Like, they had a little Easter egg where they mentioned Chris Meledandri's name, but it didn't go further than that. And I mean, yeah, they got the cameos for the Minions, but that's pretty much it. Like, Pierre Coffin didn't even come back to do the voice of the Minions, sadly. Honestly, it might sound stupid, but that's probably my one complaint about that's my biggest complaint right now with Piece by Piece. Needs more Minions. Okay, anyways, I'm very curious to see how this could turn out. With how big Lego is, I could see the possibility of having different live-action Lego movies. Personally, I could see them making a live-action Ninjago movie. With how big Ninjago is and how it's one of Lego's biggest properties, it would be a no-brainer. Honestly, that would be interesting. Or at least even some kind, or like actually do something that is based on the Lego Ninjago series. Like maybe do something that could be closer to that. I mean, like the first attempt of a Lego Ninjago movie, that turned out to be a complete bust. But like you mentioned, considering how big the Ninjago brand is, since like it even surpassed the popularity of Bionicles, I can imagine they could try to do another shot to make a more faithful adaptation to Ninjago and find a way to actually make that live action and make it work. Let's see now. And you know what? You do bring up a good idea, actually. Like, if you're going to make live action movies based on Legos, why not make live action movies based on Nintendo properties? Like, not just Ninjago, but even other stuff like, make a movie based on Chimera, or make a movie based on like what's that? I don't know, like the fairies or something like that. Like that I don't know, that girl brand that they have. I'm trying to think. But yeah, that would be a pretty solid example. Like find a way to also incorporate the brands. Or what would be interesting, actually, just to think about it, like some of you in the chat wall, I have noticed that you have mentioned maybe do some kind of like racing movie. That could be an interesting idea. Or even like some kind of like like a sports competition movie about building Lego sets. Like have a movie where people have to compete to be the fastest to build a Lego set and be the fastest to go and do so. I can imagine that could be a pretty awesome idea. Let's see now. It is nice to see Universal is taking more advantage of the Lego property, but it does concern me about the live action aspect. I would love to see Illumination and maybe Aardman to do Lego movies because the latter is mostly used to stop motion. I would love to see Robert Zemeckis do a Lego movie himself, especially a mocap, mainly because I enjoyed the Polar Express as a kid. I have a question if you can answer. Do you think motion capture is considered real animation? I know that is a pretty tough question to answer, and I know that debate is still going on to this day, but I do feel like there are ways that you can actually use it in animation. And honestly, the best example that I can think of is The Adventures of Tintin. I do consider that an animated feature, an underrated masterpiece of a movie, by the way. But yeah, considering that one primarily uses motion capture and does so very well, that I do believe does count as animation. And even the fact that you did bring up the Polar Express, technically that does also count as an animated movie as well. There are, like, honestly, the thing is with motion capture is that it is a tool. And I do believe that it can be used as a tool in order to produce animation. And by the way, fun fact, DreamWorks Animation has actually used motion capture before in order to produce some of their animations. Case in point, How to Train Your Dragon. Some of it, and I don't know if it's all the movies, but I know with the second film, they did use motion capture in order to do some of the animation for the human characters like Hiccup and Astrid. So just to let you know, yeah, I do think that motion capture can be used as an animation tool, but has to be used in a specific way like Tintin or the Polar Express. Let's see what other comments would there be. I thought Universal would only do piece by piece since the 5-year deal they got to do with the Lego movies, and it sucks that the movies didn't do too well at the box office, but I'm very surprised that they still got more films planned for the deal. If I want to see a live-action Lego movie, then maybe do a racing film. That'd be really cool. Or maybe a space police movie. That would be epic and a lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Someone is mentioning, oh, what's this? Hold on a sec. We got an update here. It looks like it looks like, that Lego Ninjago movie, that live action Lego Ninjago movie, that might be real, actually. It says here, Kevin and Dan Hagman are tapped to go and script the Lego Ninjago movie for Universal. Okay. So, okay. Well, you know, funny enough, I don't, let's see. Okay. Oh, wow. This might be a different one, actually, because it even mentions here. This is from my source on Deadline, or from one of the person in the chat wall. It says, news of the new Ninjago comes following word that Jake Kansdan, Patty Jenkins, and Joe Cornish are on board to direct live-action Lego movies for Universal. Details on the plot for the Hagmans film are under wraps. Oh, wow. Okay. I was not expecting that would be a legitimate thing, but, okay, so it looks like we got a fourth live action Lego movie, and it is the Lego Ninjago movie, believe it or not. Wow. All right. Yo, thank you so much for sharing me this, Gumball fan. Oh, wow. Okay, that's an interesting update. Okay, but yeah, honestly, you know what? I think that would actually go and mark a pretty good ending to this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this. And once again, just a quick reminder, there will be no episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast next week. I will be coming back the week afterwards when I return from my vacation. And also with that said, if you guys would like to follow me for more crazy adventures on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, covering some of the wild news that's happening in animation and in our world, then you could go and subscribe to the AniMat Live Twitch channel and the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. You could also go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, rather it be on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. And with that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.